Hey everyone, George here and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about quarantine tanks and how important they are to have, or at least a hospital type tank. Now we're going to be talking about this guy right here. We're going to talk about how we built this. We're going to go through the whole process step by step to show you how to put one of these together, whether it be something small like this or something larger. It is so important to have something like this on hand to quarantine those fish so that you do not run into a problem that you will regret later on. So I want you to hang in there with me. We're going to talk about this, like I said, step by step, and tell you just how important it is to have a quarantine tank of some kind so that you don't have the kinds of problems that some people have with really bad situations. So hang in there with me and we'll be right back. So let's begin by talking about this tank a little bit more. This is an aqua top. It's a low iron tank. It is a 10-gallon cube, and basically what we are going to do is be using a generic light for right now just to put this scape together. Before we are done with this scape, we will be using this Fluval Nano, which is a desktop nano aquarium. It's a plant spectrum LED basically is what it is. It's 7500K, 15 watts, gives you about 50,000 hours. I do have a video regarding this light. If anybody is interested in it, I will put a description down below in the information area, and you can look for that video regarding this light. But we're going to use something a little more generic right now while we're building this scape. And first thing we're going to do is figure out what kind of plants and what kind of substrate and so forth that we're going to be using in here. And I have just basically picked out some stuff that I think will work really well for this tank here. This is a Aqua Natural. It's called Silver Pearl, and it's a substrate that basically is from New Zealand. It's very natural. It's triple washed and dried. You do, however, need to wash this a little bit before you do use it. So we're going to go ahead and go do that and then come back and start putting this scape together. So just like George Farmer, I too have my own little strainer here. It's not the little red strainer, but it works just the same. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to take some of this soil here, or substrate as it were. This is not really a soil, it's just basically some stone, and we are going to rinse it off under some water here just to get some of the dust off. Now this is already pretty well dust free. It does not have a lot of dust on it, but we're going to do it anyway just because sometimes if you don't do this, even with a good substrate that talks about being dust free, you can still end up with a cloudy tank, and that's not fun to look at. So anyways, we're basically going to move this around and get this nice and clean and get it ready to put into the tank. So as you can see, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take and dump our substrate in here, and we're going to move it around a little bit just to see how much we need. We're going to need more than this, obviously. This is not going to be enough for what we're trying to do. Now, we're not going to be putting elaborate plants in here of any kind. Basically, we're going to be putting some plants in here just to sort of give it a good look and we'll put enough in here just to make this look as though it were a ecosystem of its own. So what I've done here is I have added a 6-inch piece of spider wood and also some red lava rock to give this a nice look. And basically what that is going to do is the red lava rock is just going to be a really nice contrast against the lighter substrate, which in this case is, as I said, a natural crushed stone. It's from New Zealand. It's a really good product. You can even get it with beneficial bacteria already mixed in it, which is very helpful for those who really don't want to do anything except for, put the substrate in their hardscape and just be ready to go with this thing and have a immediately cycled tank. Now, I don't believe that works perfectly every time, but I would monitor that by just doing some checks on your water parameters to make sure that is working well. Now, as you can see, I'm putting some crypts into the crushed rock here. I've already added some Anubias nana, some Anubias congenius, some Java fern in the center part of it, and that's really about all we're going to do as far as decorating this tank. As I said, it's going to be pretty generic with a little bit of plants and rock and wood mixed in, so that it at least has some look to it that is reasonable. You have to look at these things regardless of where they are. And again, a great place to keep fish that are new. In this case, a smaller tank, so any kind of nano fish or maybe some tetras of any kind, as long as there's not a ton of them. This is going to be a good place to keep all of those things while you're monitoring them to make sure that they're disease-free. And any of this, if you have problems with any of your fish, maybe they have ick or any other problems that show up, you can easily knock that down without harming the plants or the beneficial bacteria by using a product called ICX. And that's something I will also put in the information section down below, and you will be able to know how to medicate the tank. Now, as you can see, basically we're pretty much done planting in here. Our wood is not going to float because it's being anchored down by these rocks that are in there. I may move them around a little bit if I see that there's a possibility that it is going to be a problem. Also, keep your plants moist by spraying them, as I'm doing here, and making sure that that they are not drying out. That's something you have to monitor and be really careful about while you're doing a build on something like this. So we're pretty much done here, and when we come back, we'll kind of wrap this up by talking a little bit about the light that we're going to be using in here, and talking about the long-term care of this tank and how to keep it from being something that is something you have to spend a lot of time on. And we'll get it filled up here, and I will see you in just a minute after we finish this up. Now, this is a AquaTop all-in-one filtration system that basically has the light built into it. It has 3 chambers in the back where you can put a small heater. You want to make sure that you've got a sufficient heater. What I basically do is use a couple of small, I think they're used for betta fish. They shut off at about 78 to 79 degrees, which is perfect for smaller tetras and those kind of fish that are going to be used in this quarantine or hospital type tank. And also it has a charcoal and sponge area along with some ceramic that you can put in it, and that's basically really all you need for filtration. And the pump puts out about 60 gallons per hour, and that is plenty sufficient to turn over the amount of water that you need in this tank to keep it in good shape. So anyways, that being said, we're going to also be adding some products to this that are going to help us to get off to a good start. And these products are, number one, this API, which is a quick start. And what this is just beneficial bacteria that I really like to use. It's a great product for getting the tank off to a good start. Follow the instructions on the back per 10 gallons. Stability by Seachem is also very good. It's a product that you will have to use over a 7-day period to build your beneficial bacteria up. That's a little bit more involved, but also real reliable, and you can't overdo it. That's the nice thing about it, is the product is not something that you can use too much of. What you want to do is just, as I said, test your water parameters. Now, also dechlorination. Any dechlorinator is going to be good. I happen to use this Tetra product that is really good, and if you just follow the instructions on the back, you can put as much of it as you need in there and dechlorinate your tank. And every time you do a water change, just basically use that. Now, there is another product that I like to use, and it's Prime by Seachem, which you see here, which also does a couple of other things. It knocks down any ammonia or nitrites that might be in your water. So that's really handy to have, especially if you're introducing new fish and you're concerned about them. So that's pretty much the group of products that I use. And again, as I said, I decided to use the API Quick Start, and we're going to put that in there right now based on the instructions. I think it's a capful or 10 milliliters per 10 gallons. You only have really about 7 gallons in here, but using this and then adding more in as you do water changes, because you're going to have to do water changes every day for about 7 to 10 days, and just add a cap full of that in each day, and you will be able to add your fish into this quarantine tank and start it getting established right away. So basically just doing a little bit of cleanup here, making sure I will fill it all the way to the top. I've left a little bit of this area in the top open here, just to make sure that the glass top, you always want to put a top on these tanks. Do not put a top on the tank. It's very important because fish do jump. But just cleaning it up a little bit here and getting it ready for, leaving it for a couple of days to filter before we put any fish in it. We don't want to, even though we could, we don't really want to add any fish in right away. but we are going to need something, maybe some algae eaters, some cories, a pleco, something like that, just to get things rolling here, and that will get this thing off to a good start. Anyways, we will come back and talk about the light here in just a minute. So as you can see, we're using a Fluval Nano here, which is a great product. It's for a nano and desktop aquarium, 7500K, 15 watts, 5,000 hours. It is plant spectrum LED, which you can see here. And it does have an amazing app that you can use, which will help you do everything. I'm going to turn it around here and show you that you can use this for all different types of phones, whether it be an Android or a Apple type phone. It really gives you full instructions on how to use it best for your needs. There isn't really anything here that they don't mention that gives you all kinds of possibilities for lighting, whether to turn it on certain times a day, shut it off at certain times a day, and so forth. Anyways, pick up this light if you think you can use it. If not, I certainly understand, but it could be overkill. So I wanted to thank you for joining me today in a video that I thought was really important about setting up a quarantine/hospital tank. It's just so important that you do that and you separate new fish before you put them in your community aquarium. Have something like this that's pretty basic and simple to set up. You can do it in a matter of hours. It doesn't have to be elaborate as I've shown here. It can be pretty basic. You can add a few things to it, such as some plants and some decorations that make it a little bit more pleasant to look at. But the purpose is the same, that you are really designing this to hold fish temporarily for 7 to 10 days, just to make sure that there are no problems with those fish before you put them in your community tank. Now, the other thing that's nice about this is if you do recognize or come up with a problem with your fish getting sick, such as maybe ick or some of the more common things that you might see, you can medicate this tank with a product called ICX, and I will put a description of that product down below as well. But that is a great product that you can put in here. Also, Seachem has one called Paragard, both of which can be used with planted aquariums. So they're not going to harm your plants, and they're not going to destroy your biosystem so bad that it can't recover really quickly. So thank you again for joining me today. I appreciate it. Please hit that like button, give me that thumbs up, and subscribe as well. Please leave your comments down below if you like this video or you have any questions about it. Again, this is a small 10-gallon setup here because I didn't really have anything for small nano type fish, and I just thought it was a great opportunity to show you something that I needed anyway. I do have a larger quarantine tank for fish that are much larger than this, discus and angels and things like that, but I wanted to set up something here that was pretty much easy for anyone to do and is pretty low budget. I think I've got less than $300 into this by the time you get the expensive light in there by Fluval. That's not something you have to have. I like that light because it's really a no-brainer on how to use it, and it does get your fish into an atmosphere where during this quarantine period it's going to look more natural to what they're ultimately going to go in, because I use those lights on all of my tanks, and that's the only reason why I did that. You can go with something low budget. This tank actually, with the all-in-one system, comes with a light that's perfectly suitable, so you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. Anyways, thank you again for joining me today. Hit that bell up at the top there. That's going to give you an opportunity to know anytime I have a new video coming out, and you'll be the first ones to know that. And got a couple of really great announcements that are going to come up here over the next few days, so be watching for that. I may have some sponsors that I've been kind of grooming a little bit here along the way, and I think we're getting pretty close to doing something that's going to really put this channel at a different level, and something that I really needed to help me get that done. And I hope you liked the video. Again, hit that like button and subscribe. Share with your friends. A lot of your friends may not know about quarantine tanks or may not be using them, so it's important that we get that information out to them. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. We will see you on the next one soon. Until then, we are out of here.